Greetings, everybody. My name is Mona Bell. I serve as Associate Director of Georgia Sea Grant. Today, I have the pleasure and honor of interviewing Dr. Amanda Staudt. Dr. Amanda Staudt directs the Board of Atmospheric Sciences and Climate and the Polar Research Board at the National Research Council. Dr. Staudt also leads strategic planning, guides project development, and provides institutional oversight for both the boards. Most importantly, Dr. Staudt is the founding member of Earth Science Women's Network. So without further ado, welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much. It's really an exciting opportunity to be here.
Great. So Amanda, tell us a little bit about your background. You're an atmospheric scientist, and how did you get to be where you are? And tell us about the work that you do.
Yeah, sure. So I did my PhD in atmospheric chemistry and looked at long-range transport of pollution in the context of chemical transport modeling. So I spent a lot of time debugging my code and making graphs. But I increasingly realized through that time that I wanted a position where I was working at the interface of science and policy. And that really my strengths were in sort of synthesizing the big picture implications of the research and communicating that clearly to non-experts. And so as I was finishing my PhD, I was looking for positions that would give me that kind of experience or opportunity, and was really fortunate to learn about a postdoc position at the National Research Council. The way I found out about it is that one of my mentors in graduate school, Jennifer Logan, had just served on a seminal committee of the National Research Council. And so she had learned of the job announcement and passed it on to me. And really, this institution has been a perfect fit for me, because my job, both as starting out as a postdoc and as a sort of a junior staff person here, and even now to today, is to basically be that interface between the scientific community and the mostly the federal government and the policymaking side of our government, but increasingly sort of more broadly to all sorts of different users of scientific information. So early in my career, what I did was lead individual studies where we would be charged by a government agency to look at a topic, answer some questions that they had posed. And my job was to identify leading scientists in the field, ask them to serve on a committee that responded to those questions, and guide them through the process of writing a report that responded to those questions. So early projects that I did were on things like the radiative forcing, sort of how do we understand that concept? How do we apply it in the IPCC reports? I did one on road weather and how do we understand the impacts of weather on surface transportation? How can we improve things like the treatment of roads before snowstorms, or the ways that vehicles are understanding and communicating with each other about weather? And it was very fun. Actually, it was completely outside of my area of expertise, but it was so fun because I got to learn about all these other areas. And then I did a number of studies at that time looking at the research priorities of the federal government related to global change, particularly the research plans that the Bush administration were producing at the time. So we did some really high profile reviews of those documents. Today I lead a team of people who do that kind of work. So I'm my role is more to identify where those projects need to happen, work with our federal colleagues and others to define the scope and the needs of those projects, and make sure we have the staff and all the resources to carry them out.
That is just fabulous, Amanda. As you were talking about your career journey, I was reminded of the time when I was in Washington, D.C. with the American Meteorological Society Policy Program, and you provided mentorship and support to me over many coffee meetings that we had in Washington, D.C. on how a scientist can transition to the science
Yeah.
society interface and work in the policy world. So thank you again for providing that overview, and thanks for doing all that you do. So ESWN has changed many lives, including my own. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with ESWN. How was the idea? How it did come about, and what it means to you?
Yeah. So it's great that you mentioned the AMS policy program. So my first year as a postdoc here in Washington, D.C., several of my friends and colleagues from atmospheric chemistry community, people like Tracy Holloway and Arlene Fiore and others, had done the summer policy colloquium that the AMS holds. And the following year, I think if I'm getting my chronology right here, they had organized a session at the American Geophysical Union meeting, which was held here in Washington, D.C. So, which was great because I could attend that as well. And so we all went to the session together that they had organized, which, by the way, is pretty cool that they were just, finishing their PhDs or just in their early parts of their postdocs, that they had the courage and conviction to go ahead and organize a session at AGU. I don't think a lot of scientists at that age sort of take on that kind of challenge. And particularly at the time, a group of young women doing that together was unusual. Mm-hmm. And so we were like really just proud of each other. I was so proud of them for doing that. And we got to the end of the session, it was really successful. And we started talking about how great it was that we were so supportive of each other, mm-hmm. and how we wanted to be able to continue to provide that support to each other. It really just started out with our small cohort of women who were getting started in the field and, excited about our careers and wanting to be successful, and recognizing that, that there were still quite a few hurdles that women had to face as they pursued these sorts of careers. So we kind of I thought of it as sort of like a pact to be each other's support network. And it started as emails between our group, kind of with all sorts of questions, and the tone that you see in a lot of the ESWN communications to this day, mm-hmm. Being a somewhat intimate interaction, really supportive, was there from the get-go. And I think it, it was really important for me in those days, because, a lot of us were in situations where we were the only woman in our department or only one of few. And so to be able to be connected with other women at the same point in their career, mm-hmm. Was really, really important. And then for me, because I was in this sort of non-traditional career, I felt like I was kind of being a little bit risky at the time and not following the traditional pathway. Mm-hmm. And so to be able to get the affirmation from the group that what I was doing was important and was leading towards a meaningful career was really helpful.
Wow, that is an amazing story. And what an inspiring story too, Amanda. I mean, graduate students coming together to address these issues. And then something that you developed in a small session at AGU is now an international nonprofit about to celebrate 20 years of its existence. That is amazing. Congratulations to you.
It is really kind of mind-blowing to think what it's become. And I really give so much of the credit to the other the women who were involved at the beginning. Particularly at the beginning, we were really focused on supporting women in academic careers. And so since I was kind of on the side path, mm-hmm. I was sort of less involved in some of those pieces at the beginning, but really delighted to be able to contribute in the ways that I was able to do so. And and really just amazed at the kind of energy and excitement that they were able to bring to this effort over the last 20 years.
Fabulous. So in light of ESWN's 20th anniversary, what is something that you're most proud of?
From ESWN or from the, yes, okay. I think that the efforts that they have done to help with trainings that provide real, tangible professional development experience is, I think, is a really important thing. And I went to one of the early ones that they held, which was hugely important for me in terms of developing my confidence as a professional, in particular, in helping me think through how do you move from being a sort of junior member of the field, where to a large extent you're implementing on other people's ideas, to being the person who is helping shape the field and bringing your own ideas and being a leader. And that is a non-trivial thing to do. And those trainings for me were incredibly helpful. And I know now that many, many other women have had the opportunity to participate in those kinds of trainings and in other ones, which I think is, a really big contribution. I also have to say, going to the gatherings at the professional society meetings, at AGU, at AMS, and seeing how many people are in those rooms, they're just jam-packed. And to see so many young women who are excited about the field and confident in what they're doing and making those connections is just outstanding.
What a fantastic answer, Amanda. I can definitely attest to the fact that those kind of skills and abilities that you're talking about are not things that one would learn in graduate school. So these kind of professional development opportunities and networks are so incredibly important, and particularly important for women in geosciences. So why would you encourage anybody to get involved or give to ESWN?
Yeah, so I donate to ESWN every year because it's an important cause close to my heart. And I feel for a couple of reasons. One is every penny that you put into ESWN is put to good use. It's, I feel like there are a lot of large NGOs or other groups where they're doing good work. But I know that for ESWN, they wring every little bit of value out of every little piece of money that they are able to get, because the members and the leadership are just so passionate about the cause and give so much to it. So I know it is a good investment. And it is, for me, a way to pay forward everything that I've received from my interaction with the group. I think that our world faces the most significant environmental challenges that we ever have had to in the next couple decades. And we need a strong, diverse, energetic, confident, scientific community ready to take those challenges on. So from my perspective, it's really important to support groups like ESWN that are helping to build that capacity for us to really tackle the problems we face.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for everything that you do for the geosciences community. Thank you so much for building ESWN and making it what it is today, Amanda. And most importantly, thank you for your time and energy and enthusiasm. And with that, we'll conclude this interview. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mona. This was really lovely.